Welcome to the Personal Brand and Leadership Podcast. This is the space where I guide you to elevate your leadership awareness and to build a powerful personal brand. I am Kareem Raymond, an expert in high impact personal branding, and my goal is to empower you to share an authentic and meaningful message with the world. In each episode, I will provide you with practical tools and strategies to help you take your leadership to the next level. Together, we will explore how you can discover and develop your true leadership potential and create a personal brand that aligns with your vision and purpose. If you're ready to start making a meaningful difference in the world, tune into the Personal Brand and Leadership Podcast. See you then. Today I have a very, very special guest. His name is William Lurie. He is someone that I've met in a recent trip that I did to Montreal, Canada. And I was fortunate enough to go to a meeting where I would be able to listen to the meeting in English because that's a French speaking region. So I was very happy to be able to listen to him because I think he has so much wisdom into the topic that we're going to be talking about today. He is a marketing strategist. He is the owner and founder of eMarketing Canada. And one of the things, and he's a lot more, and he's going to be sharing with us along this conversation. But one of the things that really had me inviting him today here because is he was the person in charge of the speakers program for the Day Student Association of the University of Concordia. And he's been working with speakers and authors in the path of becoming known in who they are, what they do, and of course his company working in e-marketing and SEO and everything that has to be with the online presence definitely has a lot to do with what we're talking about here, which is personal branding for leaders. Thank you so much, William, for accepting this invitation today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so exciting for me to be able to share the experience of all these wise people that I get to meet along my trips. And I would like to start a little bit, William, if you would share with us, how did you end up working in this field?
Like a lot of people, I've had many different business lines. So before I worked at Concordia, I had a music school and I put on some concerts during that time. The students at Concordia University were looking for a hip and trendy guy who could make their entertainment during the year, engineering week, science week, frosh week, etc., exciting. And they felt I had the energy and the drive and the background to do this. But what I was most interested in was the day students had a speakers program. All of the
Mm-hmm.
programs were not paid for by the university. It was from the student fees that paid these programs. I did not work for Concordia. I worked for the Students Association. And the speakers program was something I was very interested in because I'm a avid reader and I've read a lot of different types of books. And needless to say, books on topical information are popular with a lot of different people, including students. And I thought if I could get these people in to speak, that would be fantastic.
That's amazing. And that goes along with this program that I have right now for business owners and professionals who've always wanted to become speakers. They do have a lot of stories, their own life story, people that work with story, and they still feel there's something else missing for them in order to jump in and become speakers. And one of the reasons, or more than that, I would love for you to share, like in your experience, what have you found has been effective for people who have a story and for them to go out there and share it?
So at the university level, we're dealing with personalities who come in to speak. An unknown person is not someone they want to hear from. They want, for example, All the President's Men was a huge, huge book. Presidents ex-presidents would be on the platform. They would be available to speak. Um, One of the people we brought in, and there were many, was Seymour Hersh, who wrote a book called The My Lai Incident, which was a very pivotal incident that started the Vietnam War.
Mm.
And he found a lot of things that were going on in the background. There was a place called My Lai, which there was a massacre there. American troops had killed a lot of Vietnamese people. It was covered up, and he wrote about it. It shook the world, and he came to speak at Concordia. Now, how did I find out that he was available? His agent called me. His agent called all the universities in Eastern Canada and Eastern United States to set up a schedule. So he would be at one place one day, another place another day. And this
Mm-hmm.
was not something he had to organize. His agent organized it for him. All he had to do was come and speak. Now, the interesting thing to me was he's giving the same speech every day. What's changed is the audience. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to recreate what he's going to say. He just has to say it in front of different people. And the audience, it's new to them. But for him, it's like a well rehearsed dance. He just says everything, has the slides and everything, and he gets paid a lot of money to do it. Now, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about you and me who writes the book,
Who
has a
have not
client.
been in any particular war event,
Exactly.
and yeah, don't have necessarily an
But,
agent.
but what we have is the experience of what the book is talking about. So in my particular place, I wrote a book about how to teach music, not what to teach, not what books to use when you teach, but how to run a teaching business.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who play an instrument, who dance, who cook, they want to open a school. What they don't know is how to do it, the process of doing it. So, having spent 27 years doing it, I knew everything there was about regulations, getting students, appealing to students, where to advertise for students, what kind of program you needed, what kind of insurance you needed, what kind of permits you needed, things people don't think of. So
Mm-hmm.
I published that. Now, that's not necessarily a topic that I'm going to have thousands of people in an auditorium listening to me. But
Mm-hmm.
people did buy the book. I actually sold several thousand copies because the fact was that I was the first person in the world to write about teaching that way. My wife still laughs at the phone calls I used to get from people in Australia, from people in England, from
Wow.
people in Europe who had bought the book and had follow-up questions. So the thing I tell people is you've been
Mm-hmm.
an accountant for so many years, you've been an advertising director for so many years. People who are starting out would give their right arm to know what you know now, but they have not had the experience in their job to learn what you already know. So that knowledge that you have, that you take for granted, was actually generated over 25 years, let's say, of doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are people who want to hear what you have to say. Where are they? The first place to look is at the universities themselves. There's a lot of professors at university teaching courses in what you've just written a book about. And they would love to have you come in and speak to their students. So you have to contact them, send them your book, and see what happens. And usually it's a positive response. Now, while you're there, if you're smart, you're going to have somebody videotape it. And then on your website, you're going to make note of all the different places where you've given this lecture. It could be at the library, in your community. It could be going to Ottawa, going to Toronto. You don't have to be limited to your geographical area. But what you're building is a press kit. So then you have to monetize your experience and
Mhm.
see if you can speak at corporate events with the knowledge that you have. Are there corporations who would be interested in having you come to their annual event and giving a half hour or 45-minute lecture on what you know? So if you're an accountant, if you're in the insurance industry, if you're in the advertising industry, there are trade shows and seminars, etc., throughout the year that are being organized. So you have to plan ahead. You have to maybe give it 6 months or a year before you're actually going to speak, but you have a one-page summary of what you do. You have all of the places that you've spoken at. You might have video clips on YouTube of you actually speaking. And so that is the way you build up your own reputation. And nobody's going to do it for you. That's the surprising things that authors don't realize. Yes, you published your book. Now, who's going to market you to sell the book? And believe it or not, your publishing company is not going to hire somebody to market your book on being an accountant for 25 years. Not going to happen. So you have to do the marketing yourself. And that's where people fall down. They don't
Mhm.
realize that they could phone the library, that a lecture could be organized. All they have to do is show up. The library itself will market and publish the event.
Wow. This is so amazing what you're sharing because, I do have a program where I support people doing that. And if they don't ever find out about that program, and if they listen to this podcast, like you already given them the path, which is amazing, right? The first is knowing that however time, like however long you've been in your field, you have something to teach for people who are just starting.
Yes,
And that's something that I also learned from one of my mentors. Her name is Michelle Villalobos. And she always said, you can be the fifth grader to the fourth grader. Because sometimes people are not 20 years in the field, but they've been, 1, 2, 3 years, 5 years ahead, and that gives them that advantage. So that's one thing that you said, which is amazing. The second one is universities are the best place to start sharing that knowledge because teachers are already looking or already teaching what like you
yes,
experience from the
yes,
field, which is one of the first places to start, like putting that together. You also mentioned that before, which is you have one talk that's very powerful that you give over and over in different places. That's what we call is a keynote. And once you have that, the next thing is not to recreate different like speaking topics. It's just having that one and changing the audience,
yes,
which is amazing. The other thing that you said is it's important to have a recording in pictures of whenever you're speaking in public, which is the press kit, which is also part of the path of becoming a professional speaker. And then the other aspect that you're saying, don't expect if you have your book for the editorial or the editorial company to go and promote you and market you. It's like it's important to have your own path. So
yes.
you just did this great path of like if you do these things, you have a bigger chance of having results out of speaking and out of your book. So thank you so much. I just wanted to kind of like summarize it.
So let me continue because there's a few things I did
Uh-huh.
that people were very surprised about. So with my music school, the CBC radio at that time had a 2-hour program at noon called Radio Noon. I called them up out of the blue. I told them who I was, but the thing that impressed them the most was our school was the teachers at the Montreal Association for the Blind. So
Mm.
right away, that gave me credibility. They've heard of the Montreal Association for the Blind. Their assumption was if I was teaching there, I had to be good.
Uh-huh.
So I asked them if they ever need someone to talk to the community about organizing music lessons for their kids, what to look for, what to ask the teacher, what the prices are, etc., what type of lessons are available. I could do it for them. And they put me on for an hour. Now, they never heard of me before. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the biggest music school in Montreal. We had maybe 7 teachers compared to some of the academic, like McGill has a music program, Vincent Dandy has a music program, but I was the guy that called. So I got the hour.
Wow.
We also had community television. And the community television was part of the law that if you ran a cable network, you had to offer a platform for the community to put them on TV. Well, that's exactly what I did. I called them up and I told them that I was in the music area, whatnot. So for 6 months, every week, I invited teenagers to come on to the show and explain to the audience what their hobby was, what they were doing. I had break dancers on, I had dancers, I had singers, I had kids doing all kinds of stuff who came on for half an hour. It was a
Mm-hmm.
professional production. The only amateur was me. But but I'm just saying, I took the effort to call.
Yes.
I didn't
So
self-doubt
important.
about should I call. The worst they could say is no. And if I didn't
Uh-huh.
call, the no was already there.
Mm-hmm.
CTV News, they're always looking for fillers. So I called them up again about the music school. But what I wanted them to do was come to the Montreal Association for the Blind to see the music program. They did come and they did produce a 5-minute segment, but
Mm-hmm.
they put my segment uh, preceding Gaetan Boucher, the gold medal winner at the Olympics.
Wow.
So where am I going to buy that kind of coverage? But the thing is,
Absolutely.
I called. I had already rehearsed many times what I was going to say. I had information to send them. Now you would email it. But so you have to have it professionally prepared. Don't
Mm-hmm.
assume that your summary of what you do is the best summary in the world. You're a professional, hire a professional to do your publicity. You
I
never
love
know
that.
who's going to read it. You never know what's going to happen. So during the summer, my school lost a lot of students because they're going to school during the year, they're vacationing during the summer. What could
Mm-hmm.
I do? How could I continue doing business? I sent a letter to 40 day camps asking if they wanted music lessons for their
Could
campers.
you yeah, could you explain a little bit for people that maybe don't are not familiar with the term day camps?
So day camps are where kids go during the day to do various activities. Their parents either drive them there or they're bused there. Usually
Mm-hmm.
it takes place in a park. So and they're playing baseball, they're doing swimming, they're doing arts and crafts, uh, they're doing paper mache and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of guitars because we were doing group classes and they were
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there. So I sent out the letters, 40 letters. I got one reply from the city of Côte-Saint-Luc, which is a very prosperous suburb in Montreal. I
Mm-hmm.
went down for an interview. I had all kinds of, I was teaching in the schools as well. So there was no question as to my qualifications. For the next 6 summers, I had a fantastic program at the summer camps, and my teachers were busy instead of having to take the summer off.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all it took was the initiative of thinking of the idea, sending it out. You don't know what's going to happen. You're sending everything out, but all it took was one response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this that you're saying, I think it's very important to emphasize it because there is this myth about social media that
Yes,
people think like, oh, I'm gonna do this little like 30-second video, and how come I'm not having a line of people, like wanting to hire me? And that
exactly.
is that is like opposite to what actually
Exactly.
happens, which is taking actions that are out of the box,
Yes,
and then it's a numbers game, right? You send 40 and then one only was a
yes,
yes,
yes.
which most people think like, oh, I just do one thing and how come I don't have 40 people calling. So that's also very important to have a real expectations, because this is a numbers game.
So when you write a book about your work experience, a knowledge book, you have to ask yourself who my audience is and how can I'm not going to sit home and wait for my audience to go to Amazon to buy my book. I'm not the Oprah of my field.
Yeah.
So they're not going to know who I am. But if I could go to them, figure out ways of reaching that particular audience where I can build up a reputation. The book speaks for itself. I see in back of you there's a
Mm-hmm.
poster on the wall. So a lot of authors, when they're being interviewed in the library, there's their book, right,
Yes.
facing the camera. So the book speaks for itself. But then the next question is, does anybody want to read it? Does anybody want to hear about it? So who wants to read it? Who wants to hear about it? And look to your right, look to your left. There's no one there but you. So
Mm.
if you want that publicized, if you want that popular, get off your butt and self promote.
Yes. William, would you say something to people who have this self-doubt, like this little voice in their head that is telling them, "Oh, you don't like you're not enough," or like there's still things that you miss? Because we all at some point in life feel that way. So, what would your advice be in that particular topic?
Many people who are on TV, the opening line from the moderator before the guest is introduced is their book is this, they're published author and whatnot. What most people don't know is the people you see on TV speaking about various subjects with their book. They may have sold 100 copies of the book. That's not
Yeah.
why they wrote it. They
Mm-hmm.
wrote it to get the credibility to appear on TV as an expert. The sales of the book are irrelevant. The being on TV was the end goal, and the book opened the door for the interviewer to call you back. They never
Mm-hmm.
ask, have you sold any copies? They just want to know that you wrote a book on this particular topic, and if they're in need of an expert, you're it. If they're in a spot where they need someone right away.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in my own experience, what I can say is that the easiest part for a book to be in my hands, it was the writing part, which is for I would say like 5 years. I was so worried about, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to write it correctly, like just being so hung up into the writing the book. But then after that, I said that's the easiest part. The rest is what we don't know about once we have the first draft. You know, all the editorials, corrections, proofreading, the internal design, the cover, the printing, the marketing. So I would say to people, don't worry about the writing. Once you have it, the rest is what's gonna be guiding you throughout what you want to accomplish. And I love what you just said, like the credibility, just having going through that process is gonna give us the credibility to
Yes.
be in front of the people that we really want to.
Yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
so when I wrote my book, which was in 2002, the tools that were available to me were a pen and paper or
Yeah, wow.
using my typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so nowadays, what I recommend people to do, if they're very familiar with the topic, which they should be because it's their life, it's their
Yeah.
business life, I
Mm-hmm.
suggest they buy a digital tape recorder,
Mm-hmm.
that they speak their book, they speak their experience, they speak about this particular situation and how they resolved it. They speak about a certain process that everybody in their field goes through and whatnot. And then they go online and have a transcript generated from the tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they're going to cover all of the topics they've ever wanted to talk about. But instead of having to write it all down, they now have all these transcripts. Now they
Mm-hmm.
have a draft, something they never thought they could ever generate. It's
Yes.
right there, but it's not a perfect draft. But now they can go through the text and they can edit it. They can add things that they just remembered needed to be said about that. And that as that process goes on, the book becomes more and more refined. And eventually they're going to end up with a manuscript. It's obviously going to be a digital manuscript that they're
Mm-hmm.
pretty happy with. And I
Mm-hmm.
spend so much time writing everything down, reading it over, and scratching things out and whatnot. You don't have to do that nowadays. So let's say, for example, after all that work in quotation marks, you have a finished manuscript that you're pleased with. Now's the time to go to an editor, not your friends who are going to love your book no matter what, but to a
Yeah.
professional editor and have it critiqued. So my 300-page book was winnowed down to 70 pages. Remember, it's a how-to manual.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fiction story. And what I did with my book was I turned those 70 pages into 5 different reports. And you could buy each report for $7 or the whole thing for $15, let's say. So what are they going to do? They're going to buy one report for this, or they're just spend a little more and get everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, if you want to be creative, go on. There's a place called ClickBank, which is
ClickBank.
an
Okay.
online platform for people who created how-to books. It's a selling platform. It's not like
Wow.
Amazon. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like chapters or whatnot, but it's a marketplace for how-to books. And you should go there. Anybody who's thinking of writing a business book, for example, and see
Mm-hmm.
what's available, see what people have done, see how they're advertising it, see what they're summarizing, maybe even buy a few books in the field you're in to see what they did with it, to get some ideas of what you could do.
This is amazing. I'm just taking notes myself. You got me so inspired.
So my
William.
my book was a downloadable PDF.
Uh-huh.
I I knew about publishing vanity, they're called vanity publishing houses, where they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get you to write a book, order so many copies, and you give copies to your relatives, and the other 500 copies stay in your garage in cardboard boxes.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I didn't want to go that way. And the value of a digital book is that you only need one copy and
Uh-huh.
everybody can download it and they're buying the same thing over and over again. You don't have to pay printing costs. You don't have to do any of that. You may want to have a couple of copies printed at a printer. It's called on-demand printing. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll print maybe 5 or 10 copies of your book in a physical form. And you can have the cover and everything done. So now you have a physical copy that you could you could send by mail to the TV interviewer or the
Mm-hmm.
corporate people who may want to hire you. And there's your resume right there.
Yes. Wow. Well, having the path definitely makes it easier to be able to see it. William, how do people find out about you if they want to connect with you, get more from your experience, or even find out more about your company? How can they find you?
So, eMarketing Canada, we've been designing websites for 27 years. We have been working with people just like you,
Mm-hmm.
someone in business. We don't work with huge companies. We work with family-run businesses, small businesses who want an online presence. And what we offer is visibility that you might not otherwise find. So when you do a search on Google, most of the companies that show up on page one are major companies in the field. And the problem for the smaller businesses is how can they get there as well? And that's what we specialize in, is getting you visible, making you profitable. So just look for eMarketing Canada. We're easy to find. Just do a Google search. We're normally number one in the search. Just give us a
Mm-hmm.
call, shoot us an email. If you want to talk about publishing, I'd love to have a conversation with you. There's absolutely no charge. This is my passion. Believe me, I'll tell you one thing though.
Mm-hmm.
Once your book is published, it changes the way you think about yourself.
Absolutely.
You're no longer the relative who's always been talking about the book they're going to write. Now you're the relative who wrote the book and it's on sale at Amazon. Now, how does it get to be on sale on Amazon? You just go to the Amazon platform, you go to the area where you want to upload your book, and there it is. You may only sell 2 copies, but it doesn't matter. You send the link to all your relatives. There's your book. You did it.
You did it. Yes. Thank you so, so
You're
much.
very,
So,
very welcome.
whoever, like, if you're listening to us, if you're watching this video right now, I highly recommend to you to find Marketing Canada to find out more about William. And definitely, if you have been thinking about writing your book and becoming speakers, this is the perfect path. Just listen again to this recording and then take notes because like even me, like I got inspired again to follow that path and then having my next book. So thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you. Where did we meet? We met at an organization called Business Network International.
Yes.
And
BNI.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and what I would like to say to people as we close this podcast
Mm-hmm.
is P&I is for business people like you who are small businesses who
Mm-hmm.
need a referral network. So I've been a member. I'm the longest serving BNI member in Quebec. And in the time that I've been there, I've received a lot of referrals. You've never heard of my company. You've
Mm-hmm.
never heard of me. But thanks to BNI, I've managed to put my kids through university, pay the mortgage, pay the rent on my car, etc., etc. So it absolutely works.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it got us to get to know each other,
That's how we
like
met.
from a small
That's how
trip. And then
you and I met.
yes,
We
and
never
I
would
end
have
up,
met any other way.
absolutely. Thank you so much, William. So
Thank
hope
you.
in the future we'll have another second episode.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.